Now, starships play a huge role in No Man's Sky because basically they allow you to do anything. So, travel through space, land on planets, fly over planets, return to space, and now they even allow you to land on water as well. Now, 2 years ago, I created a pretty in depth guide to starships, but since then, absolutely fecking loads has changed with Starship and No Man's Sky. So, things like there are new ships, there have been ship upgrades, how many ships you can have has changed, and how you access them, even the long awaited addition of Starship customization, amongst a bunch of other stuff. So, I've decided to do an in depth overview of Starships and No Man's Sky updated for 2025. And I'm going to start with the things that are new or have been updated recently. So let's go ahead and get stuck in. Just a quick note, folks, I'll be giving you my 5 essential No Man's Sky Starship tips at the end of this video, so make sure you stick around for those. I'm going to start with how many ships you can actually have at any given time because that has increased quite dramatically actually recently as part of the huge World Part 2 update. Now, prior to that, you could have 12 starships at any given time, and if you had 12 and wanted a new ship, you'd have to trade an existing one in for the new one you wanted. Not ideal, but if you're a bit of a ship hoarder or you spend a lot of time building new ships, not great. But now, assuming you have a capital freighter, you can stick 18 ships in your freighter's archive at any time while still having an active fleet of 12 starships. Now that gives you a total of 30 ships, meaning the amount of starships you can have has more than doubled in the last couple of months. And if you're wondering where to access this archive of ships, you can do it from the Fleet Management Terminal on board your capital freighter. Now the way this works is fairly simple. If you have, say, 12 ships, but you want to go and buy another one or build another one, you need to stick one of your existing 12 active ships into this new archive, and then you've got a free spot to buy or build another ship. And it's similar if you want to grab a ship back out of the archive. You need to make sure that there is space in your active fleet to do that. Now, one thing to know is that even though all the installed technology in an archive ship will remain while it's archived, all loose storage will be purged. So make sure you've stuck it somewhere else before you archive the ship if you think you're going to need it. Also, a quick side note, multi-tools now also benefit from having the same brand new 18 slot multi-tool archive as well. Now, the next new feature that has been added in recent times, and one that loads of players wanted, is of course ship customization, or as I prefer to call it, ship building, because let's be honest, you can't currently customize an existing ship, and you can only build a new one from scratch using a variety of parts in your inventory. And you also, at least as of the creation of this video, cannot create every ship type in the game, but the ships you can create are fighters, haulers, explorers, and solar ships. I would expect at some point in the future this may extend to shuttles and maybe sentinel ships as well. I don't ever imagine we'll get custom living ships or exotic ships, though I'm happy to be corrected if that does become a thing in the future. The premise around ship building is really simple. Basically, you can find crashed ships or you can buy a bunch of ships off NPCs and then you can scrap them for parts. Now, you'll have to scrap a good few ships to get a variety of parts in your inventory because each scrapped ship only gets you a single thing from it, say the wings or the thrusters, for example. Once you've done enough of that, you can combine these together to create yourself a brand new ship. But before you take off in it, you'll need a reactor core as well, which you can obtain in exchange for a number of nanites from our good friend the Starship Technology Merchant on any regular old space station. And therefore it's simple. Once you've had the parts selected, a reactor core installed, all you need to do is select your favourite colours of the new ship and voila, you've got a brand new custom built ship. Simples. Right, moving swiftly on, let's talk about the different ship types, but first, and perhaps more importantly maybe, let me go over some of the truly unique ships you can get your hands on in the game. Now, these unique ships can only be obtained by completing different expeditions, and we've had quite a lot of new additions here recently, especially since my last video, so let me quickly go over what these are. Now, starting from the beginning, you've got the Golden Vector, which is a reward for completing the very first expedition in the game, which was Pioneers. It's probably the ship that I want the most but don't currently own because I missed that expedition. So when it comes back round, I'll definitely be getting my hands on it. Next up, you've got the Utopia Speeder, which is a reward for completing the 9th expedition, Utopia, as it's aptly named. And following on from that, you've got the Starborn Runner, which I'm a huge fan of. This was a reward for completing the 12th expedition, Omega. And in fact, 2 expeditions in a row, we got a new ship because the one after Omega, which was Adrift, that gave us the Iron Vulture as a main reward. And there are still 2 more ships that we've yet to get with expeditions. So the penultimate one is probably my favourite, which is the Boundary Herald, which is almost a carbon copy of the famous Millennium Falcon, hence why it is now my main ship. You get that one as a reward for the Cursed Expedition, and finally you've got the latest one, which is the Wraith. This is a unique living ship, in fact the first unique living ship from an expedition, and it is dredged from the inky depths of a water world, and it is the main reward for Expedition 17, Titan. I'm a very big fan of getting unique starships as rewards for completing expeditions, and at this rate, if they keep adding new ones, I'll have to use up a whole bunch of those new archive slots in my freighter because I'll be getting every single one of them. I'm sure we'll probably see another ship rewarded from a new expedition before the year is out, at least that's my guess. I certainly hope so because I love them. Now let me give you a really quick yet absolutely essential overview of the different ship types we've got in the game as of today, because I don't want to spend ages going on about them, so you can get back to playing the game as quickly as possible. But each ship type, they do have their very own important features, and it usually is around bonuses. Now, this may make you select one or the other, but as of the creation of this video, the main ship types in the game are haulers, explorers, fighters, shuttles, solar ships, living ships, sentinel interceptors, and finally your exotic ships. But first up, haulers aren't the most maneuverable of ships in the game. In fact, I think they're big clunky messes, if you ask me, but they do have a very high shield bonus, meaning they're very difficult to take down in a dogfight. And they come with a lot of storage as default, so you'll be spending a lot less money on upgrading them. And then after that, you've got explorers, as you may expect. They have a high hyperdrive bonus, coupled with a low launch cost, so you can travel greater distances throughout the galaxy without spending a whole bunch of nanites on upgrades. And when they are upgraded, they usually go for further than other ships as well. Now next up we have fighters, and these are very maneuverable ships, so they're also good in a dogfight, but they're not as strong as haulers. Now, before the introduction of solar ships, sentinel ships, and the unique ones that you get for rewards, as I've already mentioned, fighters, along with maybe exotic ships, probably the most popular in the game. Like, I certainly flew around in one for fecking ages before I got my first exotic, which was a squid ship. But anyway, what makes them unique? Well, fighters give you a high damage bonus to go with this better maneuverability, so you're going to be a very dangerous person with this. But the standard inventory size is small before upgrading, so it's going to cost you a lot to get that bigger. Moving on to shuttles, these are quite possibly the least desirable ship type in the game because whilst they give you balance bonuses across the board, they're also very low bonuses and the initial inventory size is like bang average. Perhaps they could be considered an all-rounder, but they're pretty low down on the priority list for a lot of players for it being their main ship. Now, next up, exotics on the other hand also have balanced bonuses across the board, but their bonuses are considerably higher, which explains why they're more difficult to get your hands on them. They maneuver around very well, they're good in a fight, and they look freaking awesome, and every single one of them will be an S-class, so some top tier stuff right there. That's what makes them so desirable. Moving on, you've got solar ships, and they are a lot of people's favourite ship types because of how they look, given their unique solar sails. And now you can even build your own as well, as I've already mentioned, which is a nice little bonus. The downside is they have a lower hyperdrive bonus as standard, though the flip side of that is they have the best pull speed of any ship type due to its solar sails. And they're pretty good at manoeuvring around quickly as well. Now, moving on to another fan favourite, Sentinel Intercept ships. These use different technology than previous mentioned ships because they use Sentinel technology, obviously. So you can install regular ship upgrades to them as well, so they're kind of like a hybrid, I guess. Now, Interceptors tend to be the most varied kind of ship in terms of appearance, like minus custom ones of course, and they all look freaking great if you ask me. Like, I've got a couple in my fleet. They're pretty good in a fight. They're not the most maneuverable in the game, but they're also not the worst either. And last, but by no means least, we have the living ships. And they use a different technology altogether, as they use, well, living technology. By default, they have a great damage output, great hyperdrive range, and you'll get a lot of technology slots as standard, but they lack a little bit in maneuverability. Now, you can get your hands on them by completing the Starbirth quest, or you can complete the Titan expedition, as I mentioned earlier, and get the Wraith instead. Personally, I prefer the Wraith. I think it looks so freaking good. Right, let's talk about upgrades. And the good news is you can upgrade all of your ships, and I'll give you a quick overview of those in just a second. But even though I mentioned some ship types have, say, a small inventory size as standard, so fighters, for example, you can upgrade this on all ships, though it does come at great cost. Especially like the bigger your inventory. We're talking like you're going to be spending tens of millions per slot, the larger your inventory is. So if you've got feckin' loads of money, go for it, but otherwise, it's probably going to be one of the most expensive things in the game outside of freighters. Now, I'm not going to go into great detail on every single starship upgrade you can get, because we'll be here all day. So instead, I'll give you a quick overview of them. Now, as I mentioned, some ships have hyperdrive bonuses, whilst others have better defense bonuses or better damage bonuses. But the good news is all of these can be upgraded at a cost of nanites. There are more combat upgrades than anything else, so you can install a variety of different weapons on your ships, which is good. And alongside those, you can install launch system upgrades. The one I'd go for here is the launch system recharger, because it means you don't have to charge your thrusters ever again. Like, I don't think I've done mine outside of expeditions for years. And you can install pull system upgrades to increase your speed, improve your fuel efficiency, and maneuverability. One important thing you need to pay attention to once you've got a few upgrades for each thing, so hyperdrive, damage, and shields, is the position of them in your technology slots. Now, the long, short version of it is place similar upgrades next to one another to get those adjacency bonuses, giving you, say, even more damage, or even longer hyperdrive jumps, or even better defense systems. And if you couple that with supercharged slots, assuming your ship has them, there's even more bonuses to go with them as well. All in all, upgrade positioning in your technology slots for your ship is absolutely essential, so make sure you spend some time playing around with them to get the highest values of all the things. And we're not done with upgrades just yet either, folks. Now, there are some so-called accessory upgrades we can add to our ships as well, so these include things like the teleport receiver for transferring resources to and from your ship at a short distance. Then you've got the economy scanner to see the economy value of each system in the galaxy map. And that is actually very important when it comes to ship hunting, which I'll get onto in just a minute. But finally, you've got the conflict scanner, which grants the ability to check a system's conflict level. Actually, no, now this is finally. The cargo scan deflector, which grants the ability to scramble enemy cargo scans. You know, as it says on the tin. I'm still not done on upgrades, though I am nearly, so can you see why I'm not going to go into massive detail on every single one of them, because it would have taken hours. Anyway, the ones I've already mentioned are all relevant to the seven main ship types, but living ships have different upgrades entirely, though that being said, they do all give bonuses to the same thing. So we're talking hyperdrives, defense systems, weapons, fire rate, warp, cell efficiency, and so on. Instead of buying these upgrades on space stations like you would do with the other ship types, you should be able to craft them once you've completed the Starbirth questline. And the absolute final thing to mention about starship upgrades is you can upgrade the class of a starship if you so desired, and of course if you could afford to spare the thousands of nanites it costs to do so. And this is done at the same place where you would scrap a ship or expand their inventory size, and that is the Starship Outfitting Terminal on board every regular space station. Now, as with other aspects of No Man's Sky, starships have classes as well, so C-Class, B-Class, A-Class, and S-Class. Now, C-Class ones will have the fewest inventory spaces and a class bonus of no more than 20%. B-Class ones will take up 3 inventory sizes below maximum for that tier, whilst also giving you an additional 20% class bonus compared to C-Class ones. A-Class ones will have either the maximum number of slots or one less than max slot for that class, along with 35 or more % class bonus. And finally, S-Class ships have a 50% or more class bonus, but they don't necessarily give you more inventory as standard. Now, you may or may not be wondering, where are you most likely to find the best ships? Well, this is where the economy scanner comes into play, because The better the economy of the system, the better the chance of a higher class ship, to put it simply. Now, C class ones and B class ones are fairly common in almost all systems, so it doesn't really matter how wealthy or how poor that system is, those classes will be there in abundance. Now, A class ones are fairly common in higher economy systems, but there is still a 10% chance you're going to find one in the poorest systems in the game. And finally, the big one you're probably all wondering, where's best to find S class ships? Now, they won't be found at all in the poorest economies. And you'll only have a small chance of getting them in the medium or rich economies as well, like a measly 2% chance in the richest of economies. But the good news is both S class ships and in fact solar ships are far more abundant in outlaw systems. The chances of getting an S class ship of any type in an outlaw system is 5%, so more than double that of even the other richest systems in the game. Moral of the story, if you want S class ships or solar ships, outlaw systems are the places to go. Now, before I wrap this up, I did promise you 5 of my essential Starship tips. So here they are, and the first one I've actually just given you. So number 1, go searching for S-class ships in outlaw systems because you're more likely to find them. Same goes for solar ships. Tip number 2 is if you're waiting around for ships to buy, say, a space station or a trading outpost, just use the scanner on your analysis visor to scan them from a distance rather than engaging in conversation with every NPC. The reason for this is your scanner is going to tell you everything you need to know about that ship, basically. So the ship's class, the ship's inventory size, and of course how much it's going to cost if you want to buy the ship in the first place. Tip number 3 is you can divert power in your ship to your ship's weapons, its engines, or its shields, specifically, which is handy for combat situations. And to do this, you want to press up on your controller's D-pad. And on PC, it's the / if you're using the default key bindings. Tip number 4 would be, if you want to find the rarest ships in the game, just visit Reddit, guys, because players post their finds there all the time, along with the coordinates to them and the galaxy they're in. Like, that subreddit is so good. I've found so many things from it, including awesome bases as well. Now, the subreddit you want for that is r/NMS coordinate exchange. And the final tip is use landing pads or those green circles whenever you're whether you're landing or taking back off on a planet, because taking back off of them won't use launch fuel. Simples. Well, there you have it, folks. There is everything you need to know about the starships for No Man's Sky, updated for 2025. Now, if there are any other areas of No Man's Sky you'd like me to do an in-depth review like this one, please leave us a comment below. I do have a couple on my list which will be coming out very shortly regardless, so stay tuned for those. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you found it useful, and if you're still here, it would be totally awesome if you could support my channel by hitting those like and subscribe buttons. You can now become a channel member as well, and as always, thank you for watching this video and I hope to catch you in my next one.